What does merit even mean anymore when capital and influence can rewrite the rules before the game is ever played? Simply sidestep and just bypass around the entire traditional pipeline, the system that's supposed to reward performance. This isn't about natural talent progression. It's an industrialized legacy where the infrastructure comes first. This infrastructure controls the public lens. They shape the family story and insulate themselves from any kind of real objective critique. The rise of the James family in professional basketball marks a fundamental shift in how athlete careers are built and protected. No longer satisfied with the traditional agency-player relationship, LeBron James has constructed a business ecosystem that functions as a sovereign economic engine. LeBron James isn't just a player with an agent anymore. He's created an entire business machine around himself. Klutch Sports handles representation. The SpringHill company shapes the narrative. Nike anchors the brand. Together, they form a self-contained ecosystem with real economic power. And that system hasn't just supported LeBron, it's now actively engineering the paths of his sons, Bronny and Bryce. This off-court infrastructure, the James Industrial Complex, a network where capital, influence, and media reach work together to bypass the old idea of merit-based progression in the NBA and NCAA. Bronny James's entry into the NBA and Bryce James's collegiate commitment to the University of Arizona are not merely athletic milestones, but the results of a coordinated strategy, one designed to protect the James legacy from risk, randomness, and failure. By exploiting the modern CBA, NIL rules, and unmatched agency leverage, the James ecosystem hasn't just adapted to the system, it's learned how to control it. The draft, once a proving ground, has become a managed investment. The James ecosystem has effectively hacked the draft process, and the next generation of James isn't being discovered by the market, it's being positioned inside it, turning the professional progression of the next generation into a controlled asset class. Please take a moment to subscribe. I usually do this at the end of the video so I don't break immersion or ruin the story, but the increase of views haven't equated to an increase in subscribers. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the video. To grasp how Bronny and Bryce James came to occupy such advantageous positions, one must first consider the foundation LeBron James has meticulously constructed over 2 decades. It's not just a career, it's a system, one that gives his family control over nearly every part of the modern athlete experience: representation, storytelling, and monetization. LeBron James is the first active NBA player to achieve billionaire status, a feat accomplished not solely through on-court earnings, but through a diversified portfolio that acts as a family office. This portfolio includes significant stakes in Fenway Sports Group, Blaze Pizza, and Beats by Dre. However, the core engines relevant to his sons and shaping their careers are the SpringHill Company and Klutch Sports Group. Klutch controls access to teams, contracts, and influence. SpringHill controls the story. Valued at roughly $725 million, SpringHill isn't just a production company, it's a narrative engine. It blends entertainment, athlete advocacy, and brand strategy into a single platform that allows the James family to speak directly to the public without relying on traditional media filters. When a moment needs context, Bronny's medical emergency, Bryce's development arc, the pressure of legacy, that story doesn't wait for outsiders to define it. It's framed in-house through SpringHill projects like The Shop or Top Class. The result is perception management at scale. This control ensures that the public perception of Bronny and Bryce is curated by the father, insulating them from the objective critique that typically accompanies prospects with their statistical profiles. The James sons are rarely discussed as ordinary prospects navigating uncertainty. Instead, they're presented as chapters in a carefully guided legacy. And that control over narrative doesn't just shape public opinion, it reshapes how risk, criticism, and expectation are absorbed around them. In modern basketball, performance still matters, but for the James family, it no longer speaks alone. At the center of this entire strategy sits Klutch Sports Group, the agency founded by LeBron's longtime associate, Rich Paul. But Klutch isn't just an agency, it operates more like the enforcement wing of the James empire. With a client list packed with NBA stars, Klutch wields disproportionate leverage over franchises and holds an unusual amount amount of influence. This leverage was explicitly deployed during the 2024 NBA draft process for Bronny James. Rich Paul's role transcended traditional advocacy. It became active market manipulation. Multiple reports revealed that Paul contacted teams during the second round with a clear warning. If anyone other than the Lakers or Suns drafted Bronny, he would refuse to report and instead play in Australia. This wasn't normal representation, it was leverage. In theory, the draft exists to spread talent based on team need and competitive balance. In reality, Klutch's pressure campaign effectively reserved a pick. Bronny's value was deliberately boxed in so he would slide to the Lakers at pick 55, the exact outcome Klutch wanted. The result? Bronny entered the league with a level of control and certainty no other second-round prospect in modern NBA history has ever been given. The element of chance, the very foundation of the draft, was removed entirely. At the center of it all is LeBron's lifetime deal with Nike, a partnership reportedly worth more than $1 billion, and it's about far more than sneakers. That agreement ties the interests of the world's largest sportswear company directly to the future of the James family. Bronny and Bryce were brought into that system early. Both signed NIL deals with Nike while still in high school, placing them inside the brand's marketing ecosystem long before they ever stepped onto a professional court. By the time their basketball careers began to matter publicly, their commercial value was already locked in. LeBron's lifelong brand loyalty, his son's grassroots teams, and their college affiliation now sit inside the same corporate orbit. The result is continuity. The James name stays visible, marketable, and protected, even when performance doesn't justify the spotlight. In this system, basketball is no longer the sole driver of relevance. The brand carries the momentum. Bronny James being drafted and signed by the Lakers is a perfect example of how the James family's influence can open doors that normally stay closed, can reshape traditional pathways. The James name can outweigh the usual standards used to determine who earns a spot in the league, the traditional meritocratic barriers. The disparity between Bronny's production and his professional outcome drew sharp criticism, labeling the selection an egregious abuse of power. It undermined the integrity of the league and took a roster spot from a more deserving player. This strategy required the complicity of the Lakers, who were simultaneously negotiating a contract extension with LeBron James. At the time of the draft, LeBron had declined his player option, technically making him a free agent during the draft process. This created an implicit threat. If the Lakers did not draft Bronny, LeBron could walk away or demand a trade. The Lakers' selection of Bronny at pick 55 became part of the broader negotiation and was thus a condition of LeBron's continued tenure, a transaction confirmed when LeBron signed a 2-year, $101 million extension shortly after the draft. The clearest evidence of the James engine in action is Bronny's rookie contract. Late second-round picks typically receive non-guaranteed Exhibit 10 deals or two-way contracts that split time between the NBA and the G League. Bronny James, by contrast, secured a fully guaranteed standard NBA contract, an outcome that sharply departed from league norms. Isaiah Wong, the 55th pick just 1 year prior, was the ACC Player of the Year and received a two-way contract. Bronny James, who started only 6 games in college, received $4.4 million in guaranteed money. While Bronny's path into the league relied on force and leverage, the approach for the younger son, Bryce James, appears far more calculated. His commitment to the University of Arizona reflects a strategy built on patience, brand alignment, long-term positioning, and reveals a sophisticated understanding of the collegiate landscape. Bryce's decision to attend Arizona was shaped less by basketball fit alone and was a decision heavily influenced by the corporate alignment between the university and the James family's business partners, the Nike flagship. Arizona is a premier Nike school. In 2025, the university signed a contract renewal with Nike that runs through 2033, significantly increasing the product allotment and marketing support for the program. Long before the commitment, LeBron James signaled this alignment by wearing Arizona Wildcats player-exclusive colorways during NBA games. This public display of brand affinity served as a tacit endorsement of the program, effectively blessing the union between the James brand and the university. Bryce plays for the Strive for Greatness AAU team on the Nike EYBL circuit. The pipeline from a Nike-sponsored AAU team to a Nike-sponsored university is a standard industry practice, but the James connection supercharges this relationship. Bryce James's recruitment was driven as much by the collateral benefits of his presence as by his on-court talent. At number 257 nationally, his profile typically would not warrant a scholarship from a top-tier program like Arizona. Yet evaluators openly acknowledge the real incentive. LeBron James in the stands, attending games, is worth a scholarship slot on its own. For the University of Arizona, Bryce functions as a strategic asset. The cost of a scholarship is negligible compared to the media exposure generated by LeBron James courtside at the McKale Center. This LeBron bump aids in recruiting other elite players, selling tickets, and elevating the program's national profile. The James family understands this leverage and utilized it to secure a placement at a top developmental program despite Bryce's 3-star ranking. Perhaps the most critical insight from the Bryce James saga is the strategic pivot towards patience. Unlike Bronny, who was thrust into the spotlight immediately at USC, Bryce is expected to redshirt his freshman year. Arizona head coach Tommy Lloyd, known for his developmental track record at Gonzaga, where he recruited international stars like Rui Hachimura, has publicly discussed the possibility of redshirting Bryce to protect his career and preserve eligibility. This strategy acknowledges the mistake made with Bronny. Bronny's draft stock plummeted because he played before he was physically or skillfully ready. By redshirting Bryce, the James camp and Coach Lloyd can hide the tape. Bryce can develop his body, currently 6 feet 5 inches, 160 pounds, in an elite college system without the pressure of game performance. This allows the James brand mystique to remain intact, projecting potential rather than exposing reality. It's a quiet but important lesson learned from Bronny's experience. The James Dynasty has effectively separated money from performance. Through NIL deals and brand valuation, Bronny and Bryce earn millions based largely on their last name, creating a financial cushion that lets them take risks most prospects simply cannot afford. Even as a late second-round pick, Bronny entered the NBA with a net worth that surpassed the career earnings of many veteran role players. Deals with Nike, Beats by Dre, and PSD underwear meant he never needed an NBA paycheck to survive. That financial freedom made Rich Paul's Australia option a real threat. For most players drafted 55th, the NBA is the only lifeline. For Bronny, it was just one option. Bryce is currently the only high school player outside the top 50 recruits with a valuation over $1 million. That number is driven almost entirely by his last name and social media reach, not his on-court production, where he averaged just 6.9 points per game on the EYBL circuit. Even if Bryce never becomes a starter at Arizona, he remains a profitable brand. The implications of this are profound and significant. The James name now functions as a built-in income stream, removing the financial desperation that usually fuels prospect development. What replaces it isn't hunger, it's the pressure to protect the brand. A huge part of the James' strategy is total narrative control. Rather than relying on outside media to shake their story, the family tells it themselves. This allows setbacks to be filtered, softened, and repackaged as inspiration, turning struggle into brand content instead of public scrutiny. The docuseries Top Class: The Life and Times of the Sierra Canyon Trailblazers, produced by Uninterrupted, functions less as a documentary and more as a long-form commercial for the James Sons. The series frames the high school careers of Bronny and Bryce not as amateur athletics, but as the prequel to inevitable professional success. When Bronny faced adversity or injury, the documentary presented it through a lens of resilience and character building, rather than questioning his ability. As Bronny moved to college, the camera shifted seamlessly to Bryce. This keeps the younger son in the public consciousness during his developmental years, maintaining his brand value even as his on-court stats might otherwise cause him to fade from national relevance. When accusations of nepotism around Bronny's draft selection intensified, LeBron addressed them on his own platform. Instead of answering to journalists in a press setting, he spoke in a familiar barbershop environment surrounded by friends and business partners. The conversation focused on fatherhood, legacy, and empowerment, not on statistics or roster logic. Bronny was framed as a hard-working kid unfazed by critics, shifting the story from a basketball debate into an emotional family narrative. This framing is powerful. Criticism no longer targets a questionable draft decision. It risks sounding like an attack on a father supporting his son. Netflix's Starting Five reinforces this same storyline, highlighting extending LeBron's longevity and tying his motivation directly to the dream of playing alongside Bronny, further cementing the legacy narrative in popular culture. The evidence is clear. LeBron James's off-court empire is the financial and structural engine behind his sons' careers. The James family is no longer just a basketball lineage. It operates as a fully integrated business system that has effectively streamlined a private pathway to the NBA. The James model introduces a new version of the modern athlete, the influencer prospect. It proves that with enough capital, leverage, and narrative control, the traditional meritocracy of sports can be reshaped. The family has shifted success from something earned strictly on the court to something engineered behind the scenes. They have built a safety net so dense that failure becomes almost irrelevant. The James legacy is no longer dependent on performance alone. It is sustained by structure, branding, and control. In this new athlete industrial era, talent may open the door and may be optional, but the infrastructure is mandatory, and this infrastructure decides who stays inside. Like, subscribe, share, and maybe even hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with my take on the James family? Thanks for watching.